Firstly, want to talk about this brain drain problem.
Yeah.
Because I didn't leave India because of the brain drain problem.
Okay.
I didn't give my GRE and didn't go for my master's abroad thinking
Yeah.
that no, I need to be here and build something for the country.
Right.
I feel in the last 10 years, I've added value to my nation.
For sure.
Okay. Now I have reached a point where I've interacted with the foreign minister of the country. And on this podcast, he has said that, hey, stop criticizing this brain drain thing. It's not a thing because we need Indians abroad.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because they,
Pump money back into the country, help with soft power.
Right.
It's almost like a responsibility of urban Indians who can speak English to probably build global businesses.
Yeah.
It's more likely to build a successful global business when we have a base abroad.
Right.
Let's park that thought. Secondly, let's address these Gen Zs all over India right now.
Okay.
Again, for that age 22 bracket. Assume that they don't want to leave.
Okay.
Now what?
So, firstly, I think there are two kinds of Gen Zs. One is a Gen Z who are born in a condition similar to ours, where they could not just ask mom and dad for a lakh and invest it in the market, right? So, which is the category that we belong to. So, the thing is to learn how to grow your money, you need to put some money to start growing it. Now, you're 21, 22, you probably have 10,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees. So, there's not much you can do with that. But so, if you are a Gen Z who already belongs to an upper middle class upbringing and you are comfortable asking your parents for a lakh, that's a good starting point, because I know a lot of Gen Zs. So I go to a gym in Juhu. It's called I Think Fitness. So a lot of Gen Zs over there, like 22, 25-year-old. And they all come to me like, bro, Sharan, I invested in this. I invested in silver. I made this much money. I invested in crypto. I made so much money. Right? And I'm like, wow, man, this is really good. And so one guy borrowed 50,000 rupees from his dad, invested in silver and Bitcoin. He's just experimenting and, trying to learn about how these things work. He made about 2 lakh rupees, returned the money back to his parents, 50,000 rupees. Now he's sitting on 1.5 lakh rupees and is learning slowly how to grow that money. Parents are proud. They're like, my son has returned the money back to me and now he's growing it by himself. And in that process, he's learning about it. Because the learning thing about growing money comes when you have money.
Can we go one level deeper? What were the character traits in this particular guy? How did he figure out how to take that 50K to 1.5 lakhs?
So character traits are very simple. It's a hunger to be financially free, right? Like people realize that just being born in a rich family doesn't mean you're rich, right? Like a lot of poor people, they are envious that, oh, this guy was born in a rich family, why should we empathize with him? But I've realized that people who are born in rich families are not really happy that they're born rich, because they still have to ask permission for everything. Like, yes, they could ask 10,000, 20,000 rupees from their dad, but if they have to buy a 2 lakh rupees sneakers, dad is not going to pay for that shit, right? It has to come from themselves. So these guys realized that there is money in the family. Second, their parents are rich. Because they're rich, they're learning a lot of lessons from their parents on how to become rich. Learn from somebody who's already become rich, right? So, and most of these guys belong to business families. Business family, by default, there is a very good understanding of money. Because if you're not good with personal finance, you will never be good in business. Impossible. Because in business, if you do not understand how the flow of money works, you will be bankrupt, right? Like 9 out of 10 businesses fail because they don't know how to manage money. Not because the product was bad, not because the marketing is bad, not because, the whatever, right? None of those things. 9 out of 10 times is because financial intelligence is bad. So anybody who has been doing a family business for more than 5-10 years, they understand how money works really, really well. So that lessons are passed on to their kids right from the age of 10. They're not talking about fixed deposits and all, right? When they start earning their first income. They've already tried their hand on multiple asset classes. They already know what are things like PMS, AIF. They already have heard of all of these things, right? So they're really good at it.
Caveat here is that as intimidating as all this shit sounds, it's way easier than you're thinking.
Yeah.
It's way easier than you're thinking.
Yeah.
You need a bunch of financial bros, for lack of a better word, to just take you through what these terms mean.
Yeah. Basically, it's just a mutual fund for rich people. It's essentially that. So basically, being born into a upper middle class family does half the job in terms of understanding what to do next. But that doesn't mean that if you're born in a middle class or a lower middle class background, your life is gone, right? It doesn't mean that. In fact, most of the billionaires who become billionaires are self-made billionaires, right? They were not handed over money from their parents. They did it by themselves. And that is because you're born with that inbuilt hunger, right? Because your back is against the wall, failing is not an option. Because if you fail, there's no food on the table, right? So that inherently makes people want to increase their income, which is the first thing you need to do. So if you are a Gen Z person born today, and if you're like, okay, I don't want to leave India, I want to stay here itself, and I want to be rich, the number one thing to do is to increase your sources of income. Most people will have one source of income. Try to have multiple sources of income. Now here people will get greedy. Immediately they'll start doing trading. They'll start taking leverage because they're like, I only have 10,000 rupees. I need to become a crorepati. I'm not going to be a crorepati by making 10-15% return. I need to get 50% returns. How do I make 50% returns? I need to take leverage. So that's where they make a lot of mistakes. Second thing is that they will only go behind increasing their salary. Right? Now that is a losing game because just increasing your salary is not going to make you rich. Because at best you can increase it by, let's say, 10% every year, which is also very hard today. Right? If you are a stellar performer, you probably increase it by 20% every year. But if you are starting from a starting salary of 30K per month, 40K per month, you're never going to be rich. Right? It's going to take you years and years, right? So first thing I would say is figure out alternate sources of income. Now, alternate sources of income, some people would call it moonlighting, but I would say try to join a company where moonlighting is not fully encouraged, but acceptable, right? And I encourage that in my company as well. A lot of people who are working in my company, like especially in the content team, they got so good at it, they started doing some freelance gigs. And eventually you're like, okay, Sharan, I can, consult you. Like they come to me and like, Sharan, I have so many clients now. I want to quit my job. And happy to help you whenever you need. I can be your freelancer client instead of working for you full time. I'm like, great, that's fantastic. You figured out how to generate money by yourself. You're not dependent on me to give you a salary. So that's also a good thing. The third thing is try to, once you do that, try to get more clients, right? So for that, you need to market yourself well, create good content out there. So there is one story of a guy who worked for me. He was my chief editor. Worked with me for 3 years, then started creating his own content. Today he has 200,000 followers and he has 10 clients. He's probably 24 years old and making 10 lakhs a month.
I'm trying to think of the human aspect of all this.
Yeah.
The one thing that my career has taught me is that not everyone is cut from this particular kind of cloth.
Yes, most people can't do this. I'm not saying this is easy. I told you it's hard when I told you.
I think it's like maybe 10% of people have the fire required to do.
Less. Out
1%.
I have 200 employees right now. Only one person has been able to do it until now. That's 0.5%.
Because there's a big mental health trade-off.
Yes,
in this.
It is. And you can also lose it, right? Like the reason he was able to do it, because he's young. He's like, even if I lose all my money, it's okay. Because I can always get a job later. But if you're already 30, 35 and all, then it might be difficult to do this.
What's the easy alternative to this?
Easy alternatives there's no easy alternate to becoming rich, right? It's very simple. It's math. Figure out more ways to attract money to yourself. The way you attract money to yourself is you're solving a problem. The more problems you solve, the more money you attract to your life. If you're just solving one problem in a company, you're just a nut and a bolt. You're just going to get paid as a nut and a bolt. If you're solving multiple problems in a company, you will get noticed quickly. Like for example, in my company, there is a 24-year-old guy who is now head of an entire team. Like 15 people report to him. Now why? Because he is solving problems even before I knew it existed. Right? So once they start doing that, and there are not a lot of people who do that, this I would say is something that even 10% of people can do. Wherever you're working, try to pick up problems which were not given to you. A lot of people wait for things to be handed over to them. Don't do that. If you start solving problems before anybody told you to solve it, you will 100% get noticed. 1000%. Impossible to not get noticed.
And if that makes your salary swell up very quickly.
You can probably ask for a 50% hike also. And that has happened. I've given that. And I have no option but to give them because they're so critical to my operations. And I know that if they leave, I will lose probably 2 hours a day trying to do that. Now, I value my time the most. If somebody is willing, somebody can save 2 hours of my life every day, I'm ready to pay him whatever he asks for. Because it's a lot of time. But if somebody is doing things which I can just get another person to do it. See, if you're only doing ad hoc work, if you're only doing things which are given to you, you can be easily replaced, right? So you can't really come to me asking for anything more than a 10% hike. I'm not going to give it to you because I can easily replace you, right? That's how the world works. But if you are doing things which is managing 4 or 5 people, solving problems so that it doesn't come on my plate, then you can ask me for whatever you want, because that is something that my responsibility. Like as a founder, I am supposed to solve problems. But if you're going to take away some of my problems and do it, you can ask me for a 20%, 30%, 40% hike also. And that's happened.
Become irreplaceable.
Yeah. So
At the
right now
workplace.
in my company, there are about 10 people who fit into that category out of 200 people. So it's 5% of people.
5%.
Yeah.
Again, this is also kind of difficult. Probably the only easy thing one can do is minimize their lifestyle.
See, that is easier said than done, right? Like it's easy to say, live in a PG. Like that, if I go to the extreme, you can live in any part of India for 10,000 rupees a month. You can still do that. Yeah, I could live in a PG. I could eat the food that the PG only gives, which might not be nutritious in value. All vegetarian food, which I'm a non-vegetarian. I like non-veg. I could just sit at home during weekends, not meet my friends. I could take the bus to office, change 2 to 3 different buses when I go there. I could probably not change my outfits every year, like wear the same thing, only have 3 outfits for 5 years, which is how our grandparents used to live. You can still do that. But can you do it? You can't do it.
Very subjective and personality.
I just saw your wardrobe, right? You can't do it, right?
Yeah. No,
it's
I
not
think
possible.
we are currently immersed in the world of glamour. So
Exactly. And it's like the ways to spend money have increased. Earlier it was a want, now it's a need.